Now, the last time I did an interview with you, Carl, I think it was December 2015.
Really?
And I asked you a standard question that I ask most people during contract season. Hey, have you had any talks with WWE or anybody else? And you go, yeah, I've had a lot of talks. And admittedly, I was like, he's full of shit. He's staying in New Japan. He got it good there. And then it all unfolds, but we hear down the line, you guys were talking like pretty heavily with TNA at the time. And I don't know that we've ever really heard the story about what did or didn't happen there. I mean, how close were you all and AJ to going to TNA wrestling at that point?
Gallows? We were at Dixie Carter's house in Nashville for a meeting with her and John Gaburik, and we were all but – I remember we went outside into her backyard and just to get like kind of away from them for a second. We're having this serious brother talk, and we're all kind of going –
I wasn't really feeling it.
I mean, I don't know. What do we do here? Because we were looking not to leave Japan because we wanted to, but the schedule had become insane. And it just felt like it was time to make a move. Like our last year there, we did like 35 weeks in Japan. And, you know, Carl has 84 kids and I have a son too. So it was really wearing on our family, you know?
Yeah, it was just, we just thought it was like, you know, we always loved New Japan. We just felt like it was time to, you know, and we'll probably tell the story sometime on Talk and Shop, the podcast at some point. But, we just felt like it was time to try and broaden our horizons into America, and TNA was the first ones that reached out. And then at that same time, I remember walking around the arenas with Rocky and like talking to him. Like I'd be telling him what's going on. Each day was a new thing, like something else happened. We got a different offer, or this happened, and you know, and then WWE came along calling, and it was like, oh man. And then money started to become involved. Yeah. It was like we gotta take a backflip into America, babe. And then here we are changing the game again like we did then.
Rocky, how are you feeling when they're telling you all this? Because obviously, I remember a couple of years ago you signed like a multi-year extension with New Japan and all that. You seem pretty firmly ingrained there. You got
Rock
friends.
Was thinking, I'm about to get paid. Thanks, boys. Talk to me, Rock. Tell him, Rock.
Like what series of emotions go through you at that point?
I mean, 2015. So I'm thinking like, well, first I'm just thinking, oh shit, my friends are leaving. Like, oh
yeah,
fuck, you know, like what am I personally gonna do, like, you know, to get through these tours and stuff. But outside of that, I mean, I'm happy for them, you know, especially at that time. I was like, well, you guys got to try it and go for it, because if you guys do this, then just the rest of it will follow, right? So it's just gonna make all of the wrestlers in New Japan Pro Wrestling even more worth more, you know? So like outside of New Japan, inside New Japan. So it's kind of a necessary evolution and step that somebody had to make and, you know, revolutionize. We always talk about the revolution, you know, there's been a couple of revolutions in New Japan and that's definitely one of them, you know?
Yeah, we caused that revolution to happen.
Shinsuke too, right at that time, right?
Shinsuke too.
AJ and Shinsuke, that was like, you know.
So obviously this doesn't reflect on the modern Impact regime, because there's a completely different regime now than when you all were talking to them. But in January, after it became clear you all were heading to WWE, there were some sour grapes from TNA. Like, they were putting out there, like, congratulations to the new signings of WWE before you all appeared on TV.
That was pretty weird, right?
It was very weird.
And I like how they called AJ, but everybody was Chad Allegra, Drew Hankinson, and AJ Styles, but they wouldn't call him Allen, or so was it? Or there was something weird like that.
They don't have the same privileges as Undertaker has, obviously.
There was some weird shit coming out. Like, the first thing they released was so sour grapes it made it looked weird. It had a weird feel to it. But I'm still waiting on all the thank you cards from all the boys who got raises when we did make that move to America. I'm hoping that they'll show up with some Amazon gift cards or something in the coming weeks.
We'll say when we left, man, like, hey,
hint, wink, wink.
When me, Shinsuke, Gallows, and AJ left to America, I mean, I will say a lot of guys. I mean, New Japan started locking people up with full-time contracts that they weren't particularly doing because they didn't have to. You know, it was just the way. It's just the game changed then. And I'm glad that it did, and none of it was because we were mad at New Japan. And New Japan's we left properly. We kept the relationships properly, and I mean we're excited to head back when the time's right.